What's up, y'all? What's up? What is going on? It's been a few days, maybe a week or so since we've met as usual. I've missed that time that we have together. But since I've been away, I have had a chance to rest a little bit and, relax. Hopefully it's showing. I got no bags today, do I? Hopefully not. If I do, oh well. I feel a little better than I did before. And I hope you guys have gotten whatever you needed since our last time meeting here, or meeting up, as we like to say as well. So, you know why I'm here. You know what it is. I got to talk a little bit about some things I've just been noticing and the value that I've had in just kind of digging through some of those thoughts according to what God says about it. So as of late, I've just really been thinking about what's ahead, what's immediately happening next for me is that I got to go back to work. I got to go back to school. I'm a teacher. I don't know if we talked about that in any other episodes, maybe in one. I am an educator by profession. I'm a high school English teacher. And so it's almost time for us to go back. And with us going back, I've been trying to just think about, or put my mind around the things that I would like to see in my classroom, the culture that I establish in my workspace, things that I always want to see present. I don't know. I guess I'm about to be a veteran teacher, y'all. I've been doing this for about 8-9 years. But again, things that I take pride in are safety in my classroom, freedom of speech, respect, honor, just things that I like to see. And so when I started listing these things, I kind of stopped at respect, and I noticed that honor was kind of like right there. And I was like, hold on, well, what's the difference? Is it the same? Because not so much. It could look the same, but it's not necessarily the same. Respecting someone is kind of surface, I respect you, but I don't like you. You don't have to like somebody in order to respect them. It's just the polite manners that follow it to keep you from being offensive. I feel like is what respect is. But honor is so much deeper. And so when I started thinking about the difference between what it means to honor someone versus displaying respect, I kind of just found my way reading Jabez and his story and just how that went and whatnot when I wanted to see a model of honor in the Bible, or what God had to say about it. Back in the day when everybody used to read those books, the Prayer of Jabez and all that, I remember reading some of it as well when I was a little younger. Gosh, that text is a little dated even at this point. But around that time, I remember it just, highlighting that initial scripture that we read in First Chronicles. I believe it's chapter 4-ish, somewhere in there, verses 9-10. I think it's in that area, where it talks about him being born, Jabez being born to his mother, and how his name even meant born through pain or turmoil, and how he, was that one child out of all the children that his mother bore, that he was that one who was called to be more honorable than the rest of them. I was like, oh, I've never paid attention to or the text explicitly saying this person was destined to have a display of a deeper level of honor than even maybe your family or whatever. It just grabbed my attention. It caught my eye when the text explicitly said, I think it was about verse 10, that he was held to a higher degree of honor, that was a mandate on his life. And so my question was like, well, what does that mean? Or what does it look like for you to have to live at a higher level of honor? And honor can look so different in different situations. Honor is always going to be played out in our actual lifestyle, in how we behave and how we treat others, how we respond to authority, and things of that sort is an extension of honor. For example, someone could not be allowed to drink alcohol at all, or even have a glass of wine at all. You will read nowhere in the scriptures where it says you cannot. And we know that there are quite a few things that even Christians or believers have questions about. Can I do this? Can I not do that? And we call that gray areas, because some of it is it's conditional. It depends on the amount. It depends on if you're doing something in excess, or it might just depend on the vow that you have between yourself and between God. If you're living by a Nazarite vow, we have people in the Bible, who did that. We know, Samson John and Jesus and whoever else had to live by a Nazirite vow, and that's completely different. Those are examples of being held to a higher level of honor. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but as it concerns the journey that you're walking with God, he could be saying, hey, I want you specifically to abstain from something that is okay for the next man to do, as long as it's done in moderation, whatever that thing is. But he could tell us, hey, you can't go there, or you can't hang with this particular group, or you can't commit this particular act because of the call that's on your life. You don't have any room in you for those things to just kind of casually be engaged in, and for you to walk out this heavy task or assignment that I'm trusting you to walk out. I know that you're capable of abstaining. I know that you will grow into being disciplined enough to pick me over whatever it is that you're going to pick. And so I don't think it was by chance that he was not allowed to have the same lifestyle or experience as even his brothers. And because it was in close fellowship with people that you can't even do the same things as them, he got a lot of ridicule for that. Most of his criticism and lack of support came right from his siblings. And so possibly for those of us, even now in this time, who know that you're called to be a little more honorable, honor says that you're overwhelmed with a lot of things that God is trusting you to carry, but you haven't stopped moving, because it's only in his strength that you're able to walk it out. When you're in those situations and you feel the ridicule of others close to you, and it's like, all they do is make fun about the fact that you're trying to walk out what God said. Oh, you think you holier than thou. Oh, you think you this. Oh, you think you better than us. I don't think nothing but what God said, and I'm really trying my best to walk out what he told me to do. I don't need to hear that from you. But on the other side, you can almost look at that as a compliment to yourself and a compliment to your walk with God. If you find that you're trying to be honorable, but you're also getting backlash from your inner circle or from those close who simply are not called to walk the same journey as you. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Don't be dismayed or discouraged at the fact that they're saying the opposite of what you know that you're called to do. Just take it for what it is. I believe when we read these stories, when we read about, the types and shadows or the cycles or the paths that others have walked out already, it's there as almost like a cheat code. I know what to expect. If I'm doing this the correct way, I know that someone is going to come along and try to discourage me this kind of a way. I can expect for it to show up within this particular community of people that I typically would trust when I decide that I want to have a deeper level of honor with God. So how am I going to be mad for real? How can I be mad if I already read the story? I'm choosing to follow this particular pattern and think that I'm not going to get ridicule, that I'm not going to get backlash, that I'm not going to get, not so nice things to say about something that I'm really trying to do my absolute best for God. It's just a distraction. And if people who are close to you, if they weren't close to you, it wouldn't have as big of an effect on, what you're trying to pursue. It has to be from somebody who actually can influence you, or whose opinion that you actually care about. So it's a perfect strategy of the enemy to try to get you to stop, or to get off your game, or to get off of whatever it is that you're trying to do for God. Because if it's a random man on the street that says, I don't think that you should be living like, I think that you're just trying to act like you better than everybody. I don't care what he's talking about. I don't even know him. It has to come from a voice of influence, somebody who you actually value enough to consider the fact that they don't think that you are being who you say you are. That they think that your character is not what you're actually pursuing, when in fact it is. I just love God. That's all. Like, leave me alone. But as we continue to move through honor, I just want you to know that that's certainly a part that can show up, and in most cases does. It really does. It shows up, and it is disappointing. It's disappointing to not get the support from people who have known you your whole life, who support all your little awards, who, everything. But then when it gets to this point of a consecrated walk with God, or honoring him, not just with the fruit of our lips, but with our actions, and not being able to partake in every, friend function, social event, family function, whatever it is, and have to kind of be a little set apart, it's cool. They gonna come and they ain't gonna understand, and they may have something negative to say, but just consider it an honor. Consider it a compliment if you get the backlash for doing the will of the Father. And so, We talked about it before, even how character is fortified in places of just like waiting or, being still with God. I think that honor goes right in line with all of that. It's all tied together. As we continue to honor God, I think that he gives us more because honor will show the condition of our character. Honor will show the condition of our character. When we honor God, we pursue him in devotion. We pursue him in worship. And those are places where we're not just going in after we've moved past the place of thanksgiving and gratitude, enter into his courts with, praise and so forth. We come in with a heart of thanksgiving. Once we've moved past that and maturated into the place of worship, we're no longer thanking him for stuff that he did. We're acknowledging the nature of who he is. And as I continue to acknowledge the nature of God in worship, I have no choice but to be inspired. I have no choice but to have a moment of reflection and admire, to just be in awe, to be wowed, to be overtaken, completely just overwhelmed in his presence because he's perfect. He's perfect in every single way. And my heart's desire is to be more like him. So quite naturally, I'm going to be inspired by being in the place where we're only focused on the nature of who he is and how I want to be more like him. As the deer pants after the water, so does my soul thirst after you. These are those moments where you have that kind of unction. You have that feeling, because I can't get enough of you in worship. The more I'm here, the longer I want to stay. If you're a true worshiper, you understand the nature of how you can get lost in time. Time means nothing in worship because it really is a moment where you're overtaken, smitten, whatever word you want to use. It's just you and him. And the takeaway is that honor forces you to want to be more like him, and it changes your character. Every time you go into worship, you should come out with a character that has been evolved. You should come out with some type of push that says, what I came in here with has to be different than the way I'm coming out. That more of him comes with me, and something else had to die in order to make space for him living in me even larger. And I think that honor just allows us to do that. So honor, obedience, and worship are like this beautiful, funnel that we find ourselves in that just forces us to be more like him, to be more submitted, to be more available. And in our submission, in honor, I just think that he can trust us with more stuff. He can trust us to carry it all. He said, enlarge my territory. We weren't talking about just naturally the expansion of land in that prayer of Jabez. I think that he was actually praying, God, will you allow me to be able to handle more, even more of your people. People are not nice, not by nature. We're born in sin, shaped in iniquity. We're not nice. We have things that allow us to change and be what we need to be, but the nature of man is just not good. And so when you talk about being in the business of people, you better be prepared. You better have some character to go with the expansion or the reach that you may be responsible for, because it's not just about the flattery and the things that go with it. Matter of fact, my Bible says that flattery is a clear sign you might need to run the other way. So it's going to be difficult to handle people or handle whatever it is that God is trusting you to handle without having some character. So we have to constantly stay submitted in this place of honor and just continuing to take on God's nature in order to handle the territory that we will eventually be able to say that he trusts us with. Those greater works that you will do than even I have done, God talks about. I believe that Jabez was saying the same thing with the expansion of territory, just the level of responsibility or what God says that he can handle and so forth. And so I believe it's the same for us. So when I just started thinking about this idea of honor, that's cool when we're relating it back vertically to God. Like, oh God, I honor you because I know that you are found blameless, without fault, and you've done nothing wrong, blah, blah, blah. I can't go to God and say that he's to blame for anything. So it's kind of easy for me to go to him as the absolute end all, be all, omnipresent, just being. Like, you're all knowing, all powerful. I can go to him that way in worship. But the problem is honor doesn't only get extended to God. Honor should be extended to those of authority as well in the earth, not just in heaven. As it is in heaven, so it should be established in the earth. It is established in the earth. So whatever it is that we're doing in the spirit realm, or even communication to God, should be reflected in how we live our natural lives here on earth. I can't have a boss at work. I can't have a parent. I can't have anybody who's an authority over my life, leaders in ministry, whoever, submit myself to God and not submit myself to leaders that he's placed over me or allowed to be those who rule over me, even if it's just for a season. I can't display honor to God and not display honor to those leaders. You can't do it. And subsequently, I can't be a bona fide worshiper and be prideful. I can't be a worshiper and be whatever the opposite is. I can't have these oxymorons where I am a legitimate 100% worshiper, one who honors God, because we kind of know that's the same, but then get right off of that platform or come right out of worship and not speak to my neighbor. Make that make sense. That's not honor, or not acknowledge your leader, or whatever it is. You don't have to agree with everything in order to follow. You don't have to agree. I don't know half of the stuff that God is doing on my behalf for me. I don't know. But when he asks me to do a thing, honor says, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to do what he asked me to do. I'm going to just do it. Honor really is an action, because worship is an action. It's obedience. It's doing the thing that he asks us to do. Most of the time, even in the Psalms that we read, it's asking. Most of those Psalms start with an action. Come. Even with Peter, all of it. There are moments where obedience is linked to worship, and it's typically an action or a thing that he's asking of us to do. And a lot of times, that's just an example that I noted over and over again, was that he kept saying, come. You first have to you gotta move from the place where you are to where he is. You have to actually go to a place, an environment. You have to go to a place in order to worship God, an environment that's conducive for him. This is a little different than honor, but it all kind of ties together. We have to form environments even with our words. You have to create a place that's conducive for God to even meet us. Coming means get up, establish a thing, meet me, find a place where I can be with you. Because he ain't coming just anywhere to worship with us, because a worship environment has to be conducive. You have to create it. Just as he created, the Garden of Eden, he had to create a space for us to commune with him. We were the last beings that were even placed in the garden. He created a space, an environment for us to meet with him. And when he called Adam to come, that was the place where they were able to worship and commune. And the idea of honor, I believe, was fortified and established even the more as they had a place to commune. So could it be that maybe we're not even creating spaces where God can meet us? Maybe we're not using our words to form the environment that is conducive for a heart that will open up to God. We might be saying a whole lot of other chatter that don't have nothing to do with a place where he can rest, rule, and abide in us. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, then you can ask what you will and so forth. But the takeaway there to me are two words: abide and words. He can't come somewhere that you ain't speaking and creating an environment for him to exist. And so I guess my point in getting all stirred up about this honor is that I got work to do. I am proud of myself in that when I thought about this idea of honor, I haven't done too bad, because one thing that I do take pride in is that I'm doing what I'm asked to do. If you ask me to do something, I really want to do whatever I'm asked to do and to do it honorably. And so I had to learn over time. I've had a few experiences, and I won't get into all of that have propelled me in the direction of being honorable. Situations where it's not fair. Situations where I don't get it. Situations where I'm frustrated in my own self. But once I've gone to God, once I have kind of went into worship, once I just simply remember the structure of how this thing worked, that this is the Godhead over me, even if it's just a man in this moment, this is who this person represents. Because I do spend time in worship and I understand what authority looks like and what it sounds like. And that I don't have to always understand for it to be what God says that I'm supposed to be doing. The same way I don't understand everything he's doing, I don't have to understand everything my natural leaders are doing, whether it's on my job, whether it's at church, a community event. Play your part. Do what you're supposed to do. And he's gonna measure and gauge our hearts regardless. He knows. And he ain't just gonna let nobody mistreat you either. because your heart is for the thing that he wants. He'll deal with anything that's not right. You just make sure you're doing your part. And sometimes when we know so much and we're so knowledgeable and we're so gifted and we're so talented, we have a way of overriding the posture of honor. Just because you know don't mean you're supposed to. Just because you can don't mean you're supposed to. Just because you are qualified in your sight doesn't mean it's your time. It could be the last step that you need is to be working on honor before he releases you to do what you think you're ready for. So trust that honor is not something that we can overlook, that we absolutely have to have, because just like we have to display honor, prayerfully, all of us will be in a position one day where we will want to receive that honor, where it will be easy to teach or to give what we have to those that are supposed to be following us. And we don't want them to make it hard for us. I want to have willing, teachable people to disciple, to pour into, to share what God has shared with me, for my experiences to be something that they can kind of, fast track through theirs and not have to take as hard of a route if they be honorable and want to just grow. I want to have people like that one day. So I need to be a person like that now, so that I can kind of reap a little bit of what I've sown and not in the worst way possible. So that's my thing. I just pray that we kind of take a moment to think about areas in our lives where leadership may be present, whether it be God himself or a Godhead that's in place of your life in the earth realm, and just check in, see how you're doing. See if you are a person who, oh yeah, hey girl, good morning. I don't like her, and I'm definitely not doing all her work for her. Like, are you that person, or are you consistent? Are you consistent? And do you keep your mouth off of it and just do what you're asked to do? I don't know. That's all, y'all. If I say and so again, I'm just gonna have to click stop. Continue to push to be your best self. That's all I want, and that's all. I love you guys, and I pray that you are inspired. Have a fantastic week. Bye, y'all. Love you.